When Rian opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was a red glow above him. It was not sunlight or firelight, but a soft crimson shine that filled the air. The bed beneath him felt smooth like glass, but warm as skin. He tried to move, but a wave of confusion ran through him. His last memory was of the ship shaking, alarms ringing, and a bright flash before everything went dark. Now he was somewhere unknown, alive and unhurt. He slowly sat up. The room was large, shaped like a circle with high walls made of dark crystal. Red veins of light ran through the walls, beating gently as if alive. Strange symbols moved across them, shifting like whispers. Rian blinked, unsure if he was dreaming. His chest rose and fell quickly. He touched his side where he remembered being cut during the crash, but there was no wound. His skin was smooth, even the old scars gone. The door opened with a sound like flowing water. Rian turned sharply. A tall figure entered, her steps silent. Her skin was pale like moonlight, her hair long and dark as night. Her eyes glowed silver, reflecting the red light of the room. She wore a long robe that shimmered with tiny stars. Her smile was calm and knowing. "So you are awake at last," she said. Her voice was soft but carried power. "You were talking about me in your sleep." Rian froze. "Talking about you? I do not even know who you are," the woman smiled wider. "No, you do not, but dreams often know what the mind does not." He stared at her, unsure whether to speak or stay silent. Everything about her felt otherworldly. He could sense she was not human. "Where am I?" he asked carefully. "In my home," she replied. "You are in the Crimson Palace, the heart of my empire. I am Empress Virella of the Crimson Dominion." Rian tried to remember that name. The word sounded familiar, like something he had heard in old reports about forgotten civilizations. The Crimson Dominion was said to be an ancient alien empire that once ruled distant star systems before disappearing thousands of years ago. "That cannot be," he said slowly. "Your empire was destroyed ages ago." Virella's silver eyes glimmered. "Destroyed? No, we withdrew. The universe grows noisy when new species rise. It was time to sleep, to wait." She looked at him closely. "And now a human falls from the sky into my garden." A curious event. Rian looked down at himself. His uniform was still torn from the crash. The patches on his sleeve showed the symbol of the Earth Federation. He felt a mix of confusion and suspicion. "Why did you bring me here?" "You were dying," she answered. "Your ship fell near our shielded valley. My scouts found you among the ruins. Your blood had stopped. We healed you with our own art." Rian looked around again. The glowing walls, the warm bed, the strange air all felt alive. "You healed me with your science?" "Science, energy, life," she said with a gentle shrug. "We call it what we understand. You may call it what you wish." He stood up slowly. His strength had returned. "Then thank you for saving me," he said, trying to sound calm. "You are welcome," she replied. "But tell me, human, why were you in my skies?" Rian took a deep breath. "My team and I were on a survey mission. We were scanning this planet for signs of life. There was a storm. The ship lost control. I was thrown into a pod before the crash. Your team?" she asked. He lowered his eyes. "I do not know what happened to them." For a moment, the Empress said nothing. The room was silent except for the faint heartbeat-like pulse of the walls. Then she spoke again. "You may rest here. Your wounds are healed, but your mind is still heavy. Tomorrow you will walk the palace. You will see what became of the dominion you humans once feared in your tales." Rian frowned. "Feared? I never heard fear in our history books, only stories." She gave a small laugh. "Stories often hide truth. But I like that you are not afraid." She turned toward the door. "Rest now. We will speak again." When she left, the door closed on its own. Rian stood in silence, feeling the strange pulse of the room. He looked at his reflection in the glassy floor. His eyes seemed clearer, his body stronger. He touched the wall and felt warmth beneath the surface. It was as if the entire palace was breathing. He lay back on the bed, trying to calm his thoughts. Who was this Empress really? How could she have lived so long? What kind of science could heal him so completely? His mind filled with questions until sleep finally took him again. When morning came, a soft chime woke him. The air smelled sweet like fruit and metal. The door opened and 2 servants entered. They looked similar to humans but had faint marks on their faces like glowing lines. They carried folded clothes and a tray of food. "Her Majesty sends breakfast," one said quietly. "She invites you to walk the gardens when you are ready." Rian nodded. The servants left and he changed into the clothes they brought. The fabric was light and smooth, fitted perfectly though he had not given any size. On the tray were fruits that looked like glowing orbs and bread that shimmered with a red tint. When he ate, warmth spread through his body. Later, he followed the corridors guided by soft lights that moved ahead of him like floating sparks. The palace was vast and filled with art carved into crystal walls. Statues of tall figures stood everywhere, their eyes set with gems. Ryan noticed that none of the windows showed open sky. Instead, every view was filled with a soft red haze. Finally, he stepped into a garden. It stretched wider than a field, filled with trees that glowed in shades of crimson and gold. The leaves swayed even though there was no wind. Pools of silver water reflected the red light above. The Empress stood near one of those pools. Her reflection rippled like living light. She looked at him and smiled. "Good morning, Ryan," she said. "Do you feel stronger today?" "Yes," he replied. "This place is beyond anything I have seen." "It is the work of generations," she said. "Every tree here was grown from crystal dust. Every light is a memory of my people." Ryan looked around. "Are there many of your kind left?" Her smile faded slightly. "Few. Most sleep in the deep chambers beneath the palace. Our time has slowed. We wait for something to awaken us fully." "And you think humans can do that?" he asked. "I think humans carry something powerful," she said. "You fight even when all seems lost. You dream even when you suffer. My people once had that fire. Now we only remember it." Ryan watched her face. She spoke not as a ruler, but as someone lonely. He said, "Maybe that is what keeps us moving." "We keep trying," she nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is why fate brought you here." They walked along a path of glowing stones. Ryan saw tall towers in the distance, each shaped like a spear reaching for the sky. "If your people once ruled the stars, why did you stop?" he asked. Virella stopped beside a tree with golden roots. "Power makes hearts quiet. We learned everything about creation, so nothing surprised us anymore. When wonder fades, so does life." She turned to him. "Tell me, do humans still look at the stars with awe?" "Every night," he said. "We still wonder what is out there." The Empress smiled again. "Then you are richer than my empire ever was." They stood in silence for a while, the red leaves glowing softly around them. Then Virella said, "You may stay here until your strength returns. My scholars will help you search for your team. The storm you spoke of was strong, but perhaps not all was lost." Ryan bowed his head slightly. "Thank you. I will do my best to repay your kindness." "There is no debt," she said gently, "only curiosity." As she walked away, the trees bent slightly, their lights flickering in rhythm with her steps. Ryan watched her go, his thoughts tangled between gratitude and unease. He could not tell if she was protector or something far greater. Later that day, he explored more of the palace. The air was filled with faint music that seemed to come from the walls themselves. He found halls filled with strange devices and glowing tablets covered in unknown script. Every corner seemed to watch him. He paused before a massive mural showing stars and planets arranged in spirals. In the center stood a figure with silver eyes holding two flames in her hands, one red, one white. The figure looked just like the Empress. A voice behind him said, "That was painted before your world had fire." Ryan turned. Virella stood behind him again, quiet as a shadow. "You appear without sound," he said. "It is easy when one has walked these halls for 1,000 years, she replied lightly. "You seem to admire our history." "It is more than admiration," Ryan said. "It feels alive." She looked at the mural. "Because it is. Every color you see here was drawn with living energy. Our art remembers." Ryan could feel her presence, calm yet powerful. He realized she was testing him. Not his strength, but his spirit. Finally, she said, "You are different from most humans I have studied. You are not afraid of what you do not understand." He met her gaze. "Fear never helps. Learning does." Her smile returned softer this time. "Good. You may yet teach us something new." The red light brightened around them, and Ryan felt the air hum with hidden life. For the first time since his crash, he felt both safe and curious. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this meeting was not chance. As the day ended, the palace lights dimmed into a calm crimson shade. The Empress left him with a final glance that carried both mystery and warmth. That night, as Ryan lay in his bed again, he stared at the ceiling's red glow. He thought about her silver eyes and her strange words. He closed his eyes, whispering to himself that he would find the truth about this place and the woman who ruled it. Far away, in her own chamber, Empress Virella watched the stars through a glass dome. She smiled faintly. When morning light touched the red crystal walls, Ryan was already awake. He had barely slept. His mind kept replaying the Empress's calm voice and her silver eyes. He sat by the window watching the soft glow that filled the sky. It was not a normal sunrise. The light here came from a massive orb that hovered far above the horizon, red like molten glass. It gave life to everything but never blinded the eyes. He wondered if it was a sun or some kind of energy core. Every part of this palace seemed to be alive. Even the air hummed softly like a gentle song. When Rian stepped into the hallway, 2 guards were waiting. They looked almost human, but with faintly glowing veins across their skin. Their armor shone like black glass. "The Empress awaits you in the council hall," one said. Ryan followed them through long corridors where the walls pulsed with slow light. Strange runes appeared and faded as he passed, as if the palace itself was aware of his presence. The council hall was vast. Red crystals hung like chandeliers, casting soft reflections on the floor. Around a round table sat several figures, each wearing a cloak with silver threads. They looked older, their eyes duller than the Empress's bright ones. At the head of the table sat Virella herself. When she saw Ryan, she rose with a graceful motion. "Welcome again, Ryan of Earth. I trust the night was kind to you." "It was," Ryan said politely. "Your home is unlike anything I have seen." Her lips curved slightly. "It is ancient, even by our measure. Few humans have ever walked these halls. Today you shall learn more about the Crimson Dominion." She motioned for him to come closer. A projection appeared above the table, showing star systems, planets, and lines of travel routes. The map glowed softly, alive with motion. "This was our empire," Virella said. "Long before your kind reached the stars, we built cities on many worlds. We studied life, energy, and thought itself. But power made us careless. We turned away from the stars, content to rule ourselves. Slowly, our spirit faded." Ryan watched the map shrink as the lights dimmed. "You call yourselves the Crimson Dominion because of this red energy, don't you?" She nodded. "Yes, the energy that flows through this palace and through us. It is not blood, as your legends suggest. It is life essence drawn from the heart of dying stars. We learned how to use it, how to make it part of our own bodies." The council members looked at Ryan with mixed expressions. One of them, a man with crystal marks on his cheeks, spoke. "Your arrival was unexpected, human. Few outsiders survive the storms around our world. Why should we trust you?" Ryan looked straight at him. "I did not come here by choice, but I mean no harm. I only want to find my crew and return home. If I can help you in return, I will." Another counselor leaned forward. "Humans are reckless. They dig too deep, fly too far, and never stop asking questions. That makes them dangerous." Virella raised her hand slightly. "Enough, let him speak freely. Curiosity is not a curse." Ryan met her gaze and nodded with respect. "Curiosity is how we learn. It is how we grow." Her silver eyes glowed brighter. "Indeed, that is what my people once forgot." The council ended soon after. The Empress stood and invited Rian to walk with her through the outer halls. The walls here were filled with living vines that glowed faintly red. "You seem calm among my people," she said. "Most humans would tremble." Ryan smiled a little. "I have seen worse during my missions. Fear only helps when it warns us, not when it rules us." "Wise words," she said. "Perhaps you were born for diplomacy." "I am just a soldier," he replied. "Soldiers can be teachers too," she said quietly. They reached a large balcony that opened to a breathtaking view. Below lay a valley filled with red forests, rivers of silver light, and hovering towers that floated on invisible energy. The sky was filled with gentle waves of crimson mist that swirled like clouds. "This is my world, Rian," Virella said. "We call it Velora. To others it was a forbidden world, but to us, it is the cradle of all we once were." Ryan leaned on the railing. "It is beautiful. I wish my crew could see it." Her expression softened. "We have begun searching for them." The storm scattered debris across the eastern range. "My scouts will bring word soon." "Thank you," he said sincerely. She turned toward him. "In the meantime, I would like you to learn from us, and we will learn from you. Your technology, though young, carries new ideas. My scientists are curious about your ship's design." "I will help where I can," Ryan said. "Maybe we can exchange knowledge." Virella smiled faintly. "An exchange, then. That sounds fair." Over the next days, Ryan spent hours with Dominion scholars. They showed him glowing tablets that responded to thought rather than touch. Machines shaped like vines grew into tools when commanded. The palace's power was drawn from a single source deep below, an enormous crystal heart that pulsed with the same rhythm as the walls. Ryan shared information about human engineering and solar reactors. Though he avoided giving military secrets, he explained how humans used fusion energy to power their ships. The scholars listened carefully, their glowing eyes filled with wonder. One day, while showing them a design of a human reactor, Ryan noticed the Empress standing quietly behind the group. She had been listening in silence. When the others left, she stepped closer. "You speak of light captured and tamed," she said. "Your people have learned much in a short time." "We have a saying," Ryan replied. "If you cannot find light, you make it yourself." She seemed to like that. "That is what makes your kind dangerous to darkness." Ryan was not sure how to respond, so he said nothing. She turned to look at the glowing heart of the palace through the window. "My people once believed we were eternal. We were wrong. Even the brightest flame fades when it stops burning for something." "Tell me, Ryan, what do humans burn for?" He thought for a moment. "We burn for hope, for the idea that tomorrow can be better than today." Her eyes softened. "That is a beautiful answer." "I almost envy it," Ryan looked at her curiously. "Why envy it?" "You have power beyond anything we know," she smiled sadly. "Power cannot replace purpose." Later, she took him to another chamber called the Hall of Memory. The air there was colder, filled with floating spheres of red light. Inside each sphere moved images of past moments. Cities rising, armies marching, stars being born. "These are our memories," she said. "Every Dominion child adds one when they come of age. When they die, their essence returns here." Ryan watched the glowing memories float like slow fireflies. "You live through memory. Humans live through stories. Maybe we are not so different." She gave him a thoughtful look. "Perhaps that is why you dreamed of me before you met me." Ryan blinked. "You mentioned that. What did I say in my sleep?" She smiled again, calm and mysterious. "You said my name and spoke of light and darkness. You reached for it even in your dreams." He felt his face warm slightly. Maybe it was just the pain or confusion. Or maybe it was something deeper, she said gently. Before he could reply, a soft alarm tone filled the air. A guard entered and knelt before her. "Your Majesty, there has been movement near the outer borders. A small ship fragment has been found." Varela turned to Rian. "It may be from your crew." Rian's heart raced. "Can I see it?" "You shall," she said. "Come with me." They moved through a series of tunnels that led outside the palace into a wide landing bay. The air was cooler here, filled with mist and the scent of metal. In the center of the bay lay a broken pod half buried in crystal dust. Ryan recognized it at once. It was the same model as his own escape craft. He rushed forward and touched the metal. "This belonged to one of my team." He saw a small marking near the hatch, a name burned into the side. His heart sank. It was a name he knew. Varela placed a hand on his shoulder. "I am sorry. The pod was empty when we found it." "We will keep searching." He nodded slowly. "Thank you. I will not give up." "I do not think you are the kind who gives up," she said. "That is what I admire." They stood there in silence for a moment, the red mist curling around them. Then she said quietly, "If we find any others, they will be brought here unharmed." "I promise," Ryan met her eyes. There was no lie in her voice. "Then I trust you." That evening, Varela invited him to dine in the grand hall. The ceiling shone with lights that looked like constellations. The food was strange but pleasant, fruits that glowed faintly, bread that melted like honey, and clear water that shimmered with energy. As they ate, she said, "My people have watched humans from afar. Many feared your rise, but I see something else. You do not conquer for power alone. You explore for meaning. That is rare." "Maybe curiosity is our curse," Ryan said with a small smile. "Then it is a noble curse," she answered. Music began to play, soft and slow. The hall's lights dimmed slightly. Varela looked around her kingdom, then at him. "I wish my people could see humans the way I do now." "Perhaps one day they will." Rian looked at her with respect. "Maybe one day our worlds will stand side by side." Her silver eyes glowed softly. "Perhaps that day begins with you." They finished the meal in silence, but it was a peaceful one. When he returned to his room that night, he felt something new. Not just gratitude, but a sense of belonging. He looked out the window at the crimson sky and thought about how strange fate could be. He had fallen into a world thought lost to history, saved by a ruler who spoke with both strength and sorrow. As he closed his eyes, the pulse of the palace seemed to match his heartbeat. Far away, Ryan woke before sunrise. The palace was quiet except for the soft hum of the walls. He walked to the balcony and looked out at the crimson world. The red mist was thin this morning, and he could see the sharp outlines of the mountains in the distance. The sky above was calm, glowing faintly like polished stone. He felt stronger than before. Days had passed since his arrival and his body had completely healed. But what surprised him most was how peaceful he felt. The palace no longer seemed strange or frightening. It had become almost familiar, like a living being that had accepted him. When he turned to go back inside, he found Empress Virella already standing near the doorway. Her long robe shimmered softly under the red light. "You rise early, human," she said with a light smile. "You are learning our rhythm." "I guess I could not sleep," he replied. "Your world is quiet but full of energy. It feels alive." "That is because it is alive," she said gently. "The palace listens to every heartbeat inside it. Even yours." Ryan smiled a little. "Then I hope it likes me." "It does," she said. "It remembers kindness." She motioned for him to follow her. "Come, I have something to show you." They walked through a long passage that led to an open courtyard. There, hundreds of Dominion guards stood in rows, their armor shining like red glass. In the center of the courtyard stood a training ground. Strange weapons lay scattered across the floor, staffs that sparked with light, blades that seemed to hum like living things. Virella turned to him. "My soldiers will train today. I would like you to watch," Ryan nodded. The guards began their drills, moving in perfect rhythm. Their movements were swift and silent, more like a dance than combat. Each step matched the pulse of the red energy that flowed through the ground. "They are fast," Ryan said. "Faster than any human could be." "Yes," Virella said. "But they lack something your people have. They fight because it is their duty, not because they believe in something." Ryan watched closely. The soldiers' attacks were strong but predictable. Every strike followed a pattern. After a few minutes, Virella gave a small nod and the training stopped. She looked at Ryan. "Show them how a human fights." He blinked. "Me, against them?" "Not to harm," she said calmly. "To teach." The guards looked uncertain, but they stepped back, leaving space for him. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward and drew a staff that glowed red. Ryan took a deep breath and picked up a simple wooden staff from the ground. He faced the guard and raised his weapon. The match began. The Dominion guard moved first, swinging with perfect precision. Ryan blocked the strike and stepped back. The next attack came faster, but he dodged it and countered with a quick thrust. The guard was surprised by his speed. Ryan remembered his human training, the focus on adaptability, instinct, and movement. Dominion warriors fought with exact patterns while humans fought with emotion and quick thinking. The match grew faster. Red sparks filled the air. Ryan dodged, rolled, and countered again. Finally, he managed to sweep the guard's legs and knock him to the ground. The entire courtyard went silent. The guard stood, bowing his head. "You fought with no pattern." "I could not predict you," Ryan smiled. "That is how humans survive. We adapt." Virella clapped her hands softly. "Well done, Ryan. You have shown them what I wanted them to see. A human fights not only with strength but with spirit." The soldiers saluted him respectfully. For the first time, Ryan felt accepted by them. Over the next few days, Virella asked Ryan to help train her guards in human tactics. He showed them how to use surprise and teamwork, how to think beyond rules. At first they found it strange, but soon they began to understand. During breaks, Ryan sat with them, answering questions about Earth, human cities, and space travel. They listened with fascination. Some of them had never spoken to an outsider before. One of the younger guards, named Lyra, asked, "Is it true that humans built machines that fly faster than light?" "Not faster yet," Ryan said, smiling. "But we are close. We travel by bending space. It takes courage to go into the unknown, but that is what we do best." Virella watched these moments quietly from a distance. She saw how easily Ryan connected with her people. They respected him not as an outsider, but as someone who had something valuable to share. Later that evening, she called him to the observation tower. The view from there showed the entire valley. The rivers of light glowed softly in the distance. "You have done something I could not do," she said. "You gave my people a reason to feel alive again." Ryan looked at her in surprise. They only needed someone to remind them what they already had. She shook her head slightly. "No, they needed someone who believed in life. You do. You risked your own for your crew, and you still hope to find them. That strength is rare." He looked at her carefully. "You sound like someone who once lost hope." Her eyes softened. "Perhaps I did. I have ruled for longer than your world has known space travel. Time changes everything, even the heart." They stood there quietly. The red mist moved like a calm sea beneath them. "Do you miss your people from before?" Ryan asked. "I do," she said softly. "But they changed. Many chose eternal rest. Some became shadows of who they were. A few remain awake with me, but they have forgotten what it means to feel. You remind us that feeling is not weakness." Ryan nodded slowly. "Emotion gives meaning to strength." She turned toward him, her eyes shining. "You understand more than you realize." The next day a storm rose across the valley. The red light dimmed and thunder rolled like heavy drums. The palace shields began to glow brighter, holding the storm outside. But deep within the palace, something went wrong. The lights flickered and a loud hum filled the halls. Ryan was in the training room when he felt the floor shake. The soldiers looked alarmed. "What is happening?" he asked. A guard replied, "The energy core is unstable. It is losing balance." Without thinking, Ryan ran toward the lower chambers. The guards followed him. When they reached the core room, he saw a massive crystal heart pulsing wildly. Cracks spread across its surface and sparks of red light burst out. Virella was already there, standing near the control platform. "The storm is interfering with the core. The system is collapsing." Ryan studied the readings on the glowing panel. "You are losing magnetic stability. The energy is feeding back on itself." Her eyes flashed. "Can you stop it?" He nodded quickly. "Maybe. I need to reverse the current flow manually. But if the chamber overloads, it could explode." Virella stepped forward. "Then I will stay with you." "You should not risk yourself," he said. "I do not command others to face danger I would not face myself," she replied firmly. Together they worked, their hands moving across the glowing controls. Sparks flew as the core shook harder. The red light filled the chamber like fire. Ryan climbed onto the main console and pulled a lever that released a surge of energy through the conduits. "Now," he shouted, "redirect the flow to the secondary line." Virella raised her hand. A pulse of silver energy left her palm, merging with the red current. For a moment the light became blinding. Then everything went silent. The shaking stopped. The cracks on the crystal began to close. The glow stabilized into a steady rhythm again. Ryan dropped to one knee, catching his breath. The heat was fading from the air. "You did it," Virella said softly. "We did it," he corrected. She smiled faintly. "Perhaps we make a good team." He looked at her and nodded. "I will not argue with that." When they left the chamber, the guards bowed deeply. Word of what they had done spread quickly through the palace. Many began to whisper that the human carried the fire of life itself. That evening, a small ceremony was held to honor the repair of the core. Virella stood before her people, her voice calm but strong. "Today we were reminded that courage is not born of power but of heart," she said. "Ryan of Earth showed us that even in weakness there is strength." The crowd saluted him. Ryan felt humbled. He was not used to such honor. Later, when the hall grew quiet, Virella approached him privately. "You brought light to a place that had forgotten its warmth," she said. "My people see it now." Ryan looked at her with a small smile. Maybe it was already here. It just needed a reason to shine again. She gave a soft laugh. "You speak like a poet." "I am a soldier who reads too much," he said. She looked out the window, her eyes reflecting the red glow. "Whatever you are, you have changed this palace. You reminded us of what we lost long ago." He turned toward her. "And you reminded me that strength is not only about fighting. It is about guiding others." Their eyes met for a moment that felt longer than time. The world outside was still stormy, but inside the palace there was calm. For the first time since his crash, Ryan felt truly alive. He had come to this place as a stranger, but now he stood as something more. A bridge between two worlds. As the night deepened, Virella looked at him once more and said softly, "You have the fire of your kind, Ryan. Do not let it fade." He nodded. "I will not." The days inside the Crimson Palace had changed Ryan in many ways. He was no longer the same human soldier who had opened his eyes in confusion and fear. Now he understood how the Crimson Dominion lived, how they breathed energy through their glowing walls, and how their lives were connected by the living veins of power that flowed through the palace. The Empress trusted him more than before, and her guards respected him as one of their own. Ryan had earned his place, but he did not know that new danger was already moving within those same shining halls. The Empress sat in her council chamber, surrounded by her closest advisors. The air shimmered with soft light from the energy crystals. She spoke of change, of peace, and of the new bridge between humans and the Dominion. Most of the council members nodded politely, but some faces remained still and cold. Among them was Lord Varen, one of her oldest generals. He had served her before the fall of the ancient empire and never accepted the idea of outsiders. When the Empress finished her speech, Varen rose slowly and bowed. His voice was calm, but it carried a tone of quiet challenge. He said that humans were too young to understand their ways. He asked why the Great Crimson Dominion should learn from a species that had only just begun to travel between the stars. His words were respectful, but his meaning was clear. He did not trust Ryan, and he did not want peace. Ryan, who had been standing near the back of the chamber, listened carefully. He had learned to read expressions in the faces of the Dominion nobles. He saw the hidden anger, the doubt, and the quiet planning in their eyes. He did not react or speak. He only lowered his gaze slightly and waited until the meeting ended. When the Empress dismissed the council, she turned to him and said gently, "Do not take his words to heart. Old minds find it hard to see new light." Ryan nodded, but inside he could feel that something was wrong. Later that night, the palace halls grew quiet. The guards took their positions, and the red moons outside painted long shadows across the marble floors. Ryan walked through the garden where glowing flowers opened under the starlight. He thought of home, of Earth, and of how far he had come. For the first time, he felt that maybe humans could help heal this lost world. But his peace did not last long. As he passed through a side corridor, he heard soft footsteps behind him. Before he could turn, something struck his shoulder. He stumbled forward, rolling to the ground. 3 figures in dark armor stepped out of the shadows. Their faces were hidden behind masks shaped like fangs. They carried small energy blades that shone with cold light. One of them hissed, "The Empress has forgotten who we are. She believes in your kind, but we have not." Ryan raised his hands, trying to stay calm. He said he was not their enemy, that he had come only to help. But they did not listen. One rushed forward, swinging his blade, but Ryan moved aside just in time. He had learned Dominion combat from the palace guards, and he used it now. His movements were quick but controlled. He caught the attacker's arm and pushed him back. Another came from the left, and Ryan blocked with his forearm, feeling the heat of the blade cut close to his skin. He kicked out and knocked the second fighter down. The fight continued in silence, only the sound of metal and breath echoing through the hall. Ryan did not want to hurt them. He only defended himself, moving with precision. But they were stronger, faster, and filled with anger. Just as one of them raised his blade to strike again, a sudden flash of light filled the hall. The Empress appeared at the end of the corridor, her eyes glowing brighter than the crystals in the walls. Her voice was calm but powerful as she ordered them to stop. The rebels froze, fear showing even through their masks. Her guards rushed in behind her and surrounded them. Ryan stepped back, breathing hard but still standing. The Empress looked at him, then turned to the attackers. Varen stepped forward from the shadows behind her. His face showed no surprise. He said the rebels had acted on their own, that they had misunderstood his words. The Empress looked at him with steady eyes. She asked him directly if he had ordered this. He did not answer. The silence was enough. Instead of anger, she spoke with calm strength. She said the Dominion had survived too long in pride and fear. She said they had forgotten that mercy could also be power. Her voice carried through the hall as she declared that no one would be punished with pain, but all would learn. The rebels were to work beside Ryan to understand what humanity truly was. Ryan was surprised. He expected anger or exile, but instead she showed forgiveness. Later, when they were alone, he asked why she chose that path. She said, "If I answer hate with hate, the fire never ends. You humans call it hope, yes? I believe in that word now." Days passed after the attack, and the palace grew calm again. The Empress spent more time with Ryan, discussing plans for the future. One evening, she led him to a vast chamber deep beneath the palace. It was a place few had seen. The air was warm, filled with a deep hum that seemed to come from the ground itself. In the center stood a huge crystal heart surrounded by silver veins. Its glow was weak, fading like a dying star. "This is our core," she said softly. "It feeds the world, gives life to the Dominion. But its strength is almost gone." Rian looked at it in awe. He could feel its pulse through the floor. He asked what caused the decay. She explained that long ago, when the Dominion spread across the stars, they drew too much energy from their world. The core had never fully healed. Without it, her people would fade completely. She had kept this secret, hoping to find a way before panic spread among her people. Rian thought for a long moment. He remembered his training, the technology used on human ships, the way fusion reactors worked. He said that maybe they could combine human fusion science with Dominion bioenergy to restore the balance. The Empress looked at him carefully and said, "You would share your secret so freely?" He answered, "If it can save lives, it should not be a secret." That simple statement made her smile. For centuries, the Dominion had guarded their knowledge like treasure. Now a human stood before her, offering his freely. It reminded her of what her empire had lost long ago, the ability to trust without fear. The Empress summoned her engineers and scientists. Together with Ryan, they began to study the energy patterns of the core. Ryan worked day and night, drawing plans and explaining fusion cycles using simple words that the Dominion minds could adapt. They respected his patience and began to see that humans were not weak but creative and brave. While they worked, Varen watched from a distance. He still did not agree, but he could not deny what he saw. The palace began to hum with stronger light. The red glow returned to the walls. The Empress herself looked more alive than before. As Rian adjusted the energy conduits, he said that the hardest part would be the final connection. It had to be made by hand, directly within the core's heart. The place was dangerous, filled with unstable power. Before he could volunteer, the Empress said she would do it. But Ryan shook his head. He said that if anyone must risk their life, it should be him. The Empress wanted to refuse, but she saw in his eyes the same courage she had admired since the day she found him. She finally nodded and said, "Then you do not serve the Dominion. You stand beside it." As Ryan entered the core chamber, the light surrounded him. The energy roared like a living thing. He moved carefully, connecting the cables, aligning the crystal with the reactor coil. The power surged, throwing sparks across the floor. The Empress watched through the glass barrier, her hand pressed against it. When the final link was made, the entire palace trembled. The glow brightened until it filled the halls. When the light faded, Ryan stood safely, his suit smoking slightly but his eyes steady. The readings on the crystal heart rose to full strength. The Dominion's world was alive again. The Empress entered the chamber and placed her hand on his shoulder. She said softly, "You have given more than help. You have given us a future." Ryan smiled and replied, "No, Empress. We built it together." That night, the sky over the Dominion world changed. The red moons glowed brighter, and the stars reflected on the palace windows. For the first time in ages, the people sang songs of life instead of sorrow, but not everyone was at peace. In the far corners of the empire, whispers grew. Some still feared the union of human and Dominion knowledge. The Empress knew there would be more challenges ahead, but now she also knew she was not alone. A human stood with her, and together they had proven that light could be born even from the oldest shadow. The Crimson Palace shone brighter than it had in centuries. Ryan stood on the highest balcony, watching the red moons drift slowly across the sky. The palace walls pulsed with life, their glow steady and warm. The energy core beneath the palace hummed with perfect rhythm. It was as if the world itself had awakened. Rian felt a sense of pride and calm. He had come to this place as a stranger and soldier, but now he was a trusted friend and guide. Yet even with all this, he knew that peace was not permanent. The Dominion had survived for millennia, but old habits, fear, and pride still lingered. He had seen it in Lord Varen's eyes, and he knew others would follow that path if not guided carefully. The Empress appeared beside him. Her silver eyes reflected the light of the moons. "You have done more than I imagined, Ryan," she said softly. "The core is restored, the palace is alive again, and my people have hope. But this is only the beginning." Ryan looked at her. "What do you mean?" She turned toward the horizon. "There are other realms, other worlds that once feared the Dominion. Some may resent our return, some may challenge it. Our survival depends not only on strength but on wisdom, courage, and trust. Ryan nodded. Then we prepare. We build a future, not just defend it. The Empress smiled faintly. You understand more than most of my kind. Perhaps that is why you were brought here. The next days were filled with work. Ryan helped train the Dominion guards further, teaching them to combine human strategy with Dominion techniques. Soldiers who had once doubted him now asked for his guidance. Even Lord Varen watched silently, learning despite himself. Ryan realized that his presence had become a symbol of unity, not only between humans and the Dominion, but within the Dominion itself. One evening, the Empress led Ryan to the Hall of Stars, a dome high above the palace. Through the glass, he could see the universe spread out in all directions. Countless stars, some new and some ancient, shone against the black void. The Empress pointed to one distant blue planet. There is a world like yours, she said. It reminds me that the universe is full of life and possibility. Humans carry fire even in darkness, and that is why I trust you. Ryan looked at her. I did not expect to hear that from an Empress of the Stars. She smiled softly. You do not need to. You only need to remember it. A sudden alarm sounded through the palace. The energy fields around the outer walls flickered. Ryan and the Empress ran toward the source. Outside, near the eastern range, dark clouds swirled unnaturally. Ryan realized immediately that it was not a natural storm. The remnants of the old Dominion forces, Varela said calmly. They have not accepted change. They are testing our strength. Ryan felt a surge of adrenaline. Then we meet them before they reach the palace. Varela nodded. And show them what unity can do. They traveled quickly through the palace tunnels, arriving at a courtyard where dozens of warriors awaited. The rebels from before stood among them, their energy weapons ready. Ryan recognized some of them from the earlier attack. Now, they were calm, guided by the presence of the Empress. Varela raised her hand and a pulse of silver light radiated outward. Today we do not fight for hatred. We fight for life and for the future. Rian drew his human blade. Though small compared to Dominion weapons, it carried the human ingenuity he had learned to trust. Then let us show them what courage looks like, he said. The first wave of attackers moved forward. They were fast and precise, but Rian and the combined forces of the palace met them with unmatched coordination. Humans and Dominion soldiers fought side by side, moving in perfect rhythm. Ryan blocked, struck, and guided the fighters, ensuring that no one was harmed unnecessarily. Every movement showed that fighting with reason, not rage, was stronger than blind aggression. Varela herself joined the battle. Her silver energy flared with every step, bending the battlefield around her. With Rian at her side, the rebels found themselves overwhelmed not by cruelty but by the strength of unity and hope. After the clash, the remaining rebels lowered their weapons. They had seen the human spirit in action, combined with the Empress's power, and it was undeniable. Ryan stepped forward and spoke to them. You fight not because of hate, but because you fear loss. But now you see that trust, courage, and hope are stronger than fear. Join us, and the Dominion will rise higher than before. Slowly, the rebels nodded, lowering their weapons completely. Varela's eyes glimmered with pride. This is the future I envisioned, she said softly. After the battle, Ryan and Varela walked along the balcony once more. The red moons reflected on the water of the palace garden, making the leaves glow even brighter. You were amazing today, Varela said. Your courage and strategy saved many lives. But more than that, you reminded my people that hope is not lost. Ryan shook his head. I only did what humans do. We fight not just to survive, but to protect those who cannot fight for themselves. She looked at him closely. And that is why humans carry fire even in the coldest darkness. You are different, Rian. You remind me that strength is more than power. It is spirit. Rian felt a warmth he had never expected. He realized that he had come to this strange world thinking he might only survive. But instead he had grown, learned, and helped others grow as well. In the following days, the palace became a place of learning and exchange. Humans and Dominion scientists worked together to rebuild technology, combining energy manipulation with human innovation. The energy core stabilized further, and the palace shone brighter than ever. Soldiers trained, learned, and grew in skill and confidence. Rian received news that a small human ship had reached orbit above Vailora. His crew was alive, held safely in a nearby space station. The reunion would happen soon, but first he wanted to ensure that the Dominion was ready. He turned to Varela. They are safe, he said. I can bring them here now, she smiled softly. Then let the future begin fully. The bridge between our worlds will now be complete. When the human crew arrived, they were amazed by the palace. They had expected ruins and danger, but instead they found a thriving world alive with energy, harmony, and beauty. Ryan introduced them to the Empress, who welcomed them with grace. The crew was astonished by her presence and the palace's power. Together, they celebrated the union of human courage and Dominion wisdom. Ryan showed his team how humans and Dominion soldiers had learned from each other. The Empress spoke of the universe's potential, of exploration, peace, and the chance to build a new legacy. For Ryan, it was a moment of quiet pride. He had survived, adapted, and made a difference. His human spirit, combined with the wisdom of the Dominion, had changed the fate of an entire empire. As night fell over Valora, the red moons shone brightly, and the palace glowed with calm and energy. Ryan stood with Virella on the balcony, looking out at the glowing rivers, the floating towers, and the valley alive with life once more. "You have done more than save my people," she said. "You have reminded us why we exist, why hope matters, and why life itself is precious." Ryan nodded. "And you have reminded me that even in the farthest darkness there is light waiting to be found." Virella smiled, her silver eyes reflecting the moons. "Together, humans and Dominion can achieve anything. But remember this, Ryan. It is not power alone that will guide us. It is courage, heart, and hope." "I understand," he said. The two of them watched the red moons rise higher in the sky. The palace pulsed softly beneath their feet, alive and strong. The human spirit had brought new fire to the Dominion, and the Dominion had shown humans that even ancient empires could be reborn. In that quiet moment, Ryan realized that he had found more than survival or victory. He had found friendship, trust, and purpose. A human soldier had changed the fate of a 1,000-year-old empire. The universe was vast, and there were still stars to explore, mysteries to uncover, and challenges to meet. But for the first time, Ryan felt that anything was possible. The Empress's voice broke the silence. "Rest now, Ryan. Tomorrow we will begin building a future that will shine across the stars." He smiled. "I will be ready." And as the red moons bathed the palace in soft light, the future of two worlds began, united by courage, wisdom, and the enduring fire of hope.